Good evening and welcome. Wednesday, February 4th, 7:35. We're going to do the pledge and then start the meeting.
Trustee Fritchie, Trustee White,
Present.
Trustee Yost,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Lopez,
Here.
Mayor Levin.
Here.
Mayor and trustee announcements.
Good evening. I'm going to start from my right with Trustee White for announcements.
So on Friday, I went to the opening of the new Black History Month exhibit at Bethany Arts. It's called Black History and Culture, Revolutionary Legacies. And it runs from January 31st to March 6th. And this is the 6th annual exhibit. And this one is pegged to America's 205th anniversary. So it explores how African Americans have defined and redefined freedom from 1776 to today. Each gallery is rooted in a line from the Declaration of Independence, showing how Black people have continually challenged the nation to live up to its founding ideals. Through art, artifacts, photography, storytelling, and interactive installations, this exhibit honors the spirit of revolution, resilience, and representation that continues to shape our culture. From the battlefield to the way we dress to command dignity, from innovation to influence, Black Americans have been and remain the true trendsetters of freedom and style. And this, of course, is curated by Ossining Village historian Joyce Sherrock Cole. So it is again running until March 6th, Monday to Saturday, 10 to 4. So be sure to check it out.
I do not.
Okay. This side? Nothing? Okay. I have a couple of things. First of all, to add to what the trustee said, the county also puts out information that is countywide on many Black history events, from the local universities to class activities for adults, to museums, etc. So it's, when we live in Westchester, granted, Ossining is the best place to live, but we're still inside the county of Westchester. So I highly recommend looking at that and looking at their website. The village manager and I just Sunday went up to the New York Conference of Mayors, which is a coalition of municipalities from across the state of New York and includes really all the municipalities. And there were more than, I think, 230 mayors there. Interestingly, there are 84 new mayors in the state of New York. Just from a perspective point of view, the county of Westchester alone has 45 municipalities. So the state of New York, being as large as it is, has many municipalities. And so it's really a place where not only do mayors come together to discuss common grounds on issues related to what they do. Some of our communities, mostly in the northern part of the state, might have 500 people, and some are in New York City with 10 million people. So it really is a huge gamut. University, communities from the river towns. Westchester is very well represented. Really the big issues, I think, and we went to separate, the manager and I go to separate sessions. This was a legislative session in Albany. They have a couple of others for clerks. They have one for new mayors, new trustees, new board members. Some are councils like in White Plains, so it really varies in what they're called. But it's basically the legislative bodies. This year, the main focus right now is the budget, where the executive, being the governor, put out a budget. The budget for 26-27 continues to be focused on affordability, public safety, housing production, and fiscal restraint on state level. A polite way of saying that they're staying flat from year to year to year. That's problematic, and this is part of the mayor's issues as we went up to lobby for more for our communities. And the fact that in addition to New York State and different communities having a pretty high cost of living increase every single year, the cost of goods and materials have gone up from 32% to 120% over the last 3 years. Materials like concrete to lumber to nuts and bolts to everything else, salt, engines, cars, everything. And so staying flat is equivalent to a major reduction from the state year in, year out, and lots of conversation about priorities. Housing is a big priority. So is the infrastructure. Every time you build more housing, you need to change your plumbing. You need more of literally everything, sanitation, salt for the roads when it snows, all sorts of things. So that was a big part of the conversation is affordability. And then what does the infrastructure look like for that? There were lots of conversation about aid for schools. There's lots of conversation about the youth. We have a youth bureau, our youth bureau. I didn't post the pictures actually, but I met up with our youth bureau that was up there to lobby our senator and assembly person, Dana Levenberg and Pete Harcum, and to really get them to understand that our youth bureau needs more financing. There was also a big conversation about the fact that the governor passes, like many governors, she's not unique, mandates, as we lovingly call unfunded. Pass rules, regulations over and over again. Some of them sunset, some of them don't, and villages are left holding. Villages and cities are held responsible for them. Our police are held responsible, but no money comes. So they make pronouncements, but there are no funds that come with that. And so there was a lot of conversation. This happens every year. This is an ongoing issue. But with the cost of goods going up so dramatically, it's now become a real liability for local villages and towns. I'm sorry, villages and cities. Towns actually fall under different formulas. And so we're a very big village. 30,000 people is one of the largest villages in the state of New York. It's the size. I met with the mayor of Poughkeepsie. She has similar issues to us. And her village is 31,000 people on 5 square miles. We are 31,000. We're 30,000 on 3.5 miles. So you could see that there are similar issues. You wouldn't think we're similar to Poughkeepsie, would you? But so mayors also get together and get a chance to compare notes, learn from each other. We met, Karen and I, with both the mayor of Tarrytown to talk about Rivertown issues. We also had the opportunity to speak to he is the village manager of Portchester? Is that what he is? To talk about best practices, etc. So just letting the public know, and I'll be doing a write-up about this, about some of the things that, we speak about when we leave Ossining, which is very infrequent, to share some thoughts with like-minded people and look at some of the also winning cases. A lot of discussion about things that people are doing, mayors are doing, that are very successful, that they want to share with their colleagues across the state that they might learn from. So that's sort of my piece as to just where we've been and a lot of the work that we're doing. I forgot to mention the obvious. Our youth bureau was estimated at this point in their life, their third year, to probably be at 125 kids, 150 kids. That was something we thought would happen. It is at 400 kids right now. And so we made a big point about that. And so we're very proud of them. They were just terrific in front of the senators. And I mean, they were amazing, really. So professional, seeing them in suits, like really advocating. Part of the program is actually to learn how to advocate. So they did a great job. Very proud of them. It was a very, very important day, I think, for them and for us. So those are mine, and we're going to move on, Sue.
Okay, administrative reports, Village Manager Karen Dottori.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good evening, everybody. So you may have noticed that we got a lot of snow, over 15 inches, or about 15 inches. And I just want to recognize that our highway department, sanitation department, our parks department, water department, building department, maintenance department, and of course our police department worked pretty much straight through preparing for the storm and through that whole weekend, and did a tremendous job. And yes, we know there's still snow, and we're still moving snow as I speak. and doing the best. It didn't help that it got really, really cold after. And that precipitated over 12 water main breaks. So not only have these guys been coming off a very big snowstorm, they've been working again day and night over the last week since the storm on the water main breaks. And again, these breaks are, it's unusual to have this many in this short amount of time, but really due to the age of the infrastructure and the severe cold that followed the storm. But I do want to give a shout out to Briarcliff. The village manager called me today, and their superintendent of public works offered assistance to our guys, which thankfully we don't really need right now, but I thought that was really nice. That's not a usual occurrence, but it was a certainly nice thing to hear. And I also want to recognize that during the storm, our parks and rec staff, members of our rec staff did come in to open the community center, and it was used as a warming facility for people who had nowhere to go. So I want to commend them on being there. That is one of the functions of our rec center. It does serve as shelter during weather emergencies. And I want to thank the staff who braved the storm. I believe they may have gotten rides from other staff who were equipped to drive in the snow, but I want to thank them for coming in and making sure people had a warm place to be the day of the storm. So tremendous amount of work from almost every department in the village, but certainly those people who are out there on the streets, working on the roads, keeping people safe, making sure people have their water, their heat, everything else. Really want to commend them. They are still working around the clock to do that, and probably will be as long as it stays this cold. So hopefully we'll get a little break in the weather soon, and the pipes will be able to rest easy and these guys can get some sleep. So thank you. Big thank you to everybody. I also want to note that we will be having a groundbreaking for our multimodal transportation hub, also known as a parking structure, which is being built in the Brandreth lot, which is the lot behind uh, the north side of Main Street, where Open Door and Main Street Deli are. And that is happening on February 19th at 11 o'clock. The Secretary of State will be here, Walter Mosley, and along with our state and local officials will be there. And following that, the Secretary of State's going to visit our police department to give them a shout out and acknowledge Ossining's participation in a grant that was initiated by Carmel, but I will let the chief talk about that. I don't want to steal his thunder. So a lot of good things going on. And yes, NICOM was a good legislative meeting. I will say, in addition to the advocacy efforts they do to get more funding for municipalities, on a variety of different things. There were a couple of things that were of note that I found very helpful. So civil service, after 130 years since its founding, is starting some reform, much needed, appreciated reform. And some of that we're already working on. There's a New York Helps program that helps facilitate provisional employees to fill their jobs faster. It gets a little wonky and complicated. I won't go into the details. If you want to hear more about it, feel free to give me a call, but it will help more people get jobs through the civil service system and be able to get them more quickly. They're looking at their antiquated test system and things. They are mandated to have a competitive process to hire people, but they really are looking to streamline it. So we're cautiously optimistic that there's some good things happening that have not happened for 130 years. So we're glad about that. There was an interesting presentation on AI applications specifically for building and code enforcement and public works. So there may be some tools that we can utilize that help us share data, particularly on code enforcement, so that we can amass more data and be more proactive and less reactive. So we're monitoring that to see how we can maybe implement some of that into the actual real intelligence of the staff we have working. And also, in talking about the affordability crisis, certainly Ossining's doing a lot in terms of addressing of different types of affordable housing and other things. But we did hear from Binghamton and Pelham and Kingston about other ways. There's not a lot municipalities can do in terms of affordability. It really is a statewide issue. But there are things that we can do to help our residents to make sure that they are having a high quality of life and getting good bang for their buck from their tax dollars. So all this stuff we'll be talking about in future work sessions and how we're going to apply it. But it was a valuable session, and I was happy for the opportunity to go.
Thank you. Corporation Counsel Stuart Kahan.
Thank you, Sue. Good evening, folks. Just a reminder to all property owners, we have snow. It has been warm in the afternoons these days, above freezing. At night, it freezes again. You are required to put down salt, sand, ash, whatever, to get the ice up. Okay, many of these sidewalks become very, very slippery. So please, please, please clear it. I know the snow is over, and I know the sidewalks are very narrow because there's not a lot of place to put the snow. But with the melting snow and then the refreezing, and this weekend it is going to get very cold once again, you are obligated as a property owner to get the ice off. If that means putting something down to get it up, please, but just do it, because particularly now, because the sidewalks in many places are so narrow and people have to basically sort of jostle against each other. Whatever you can do to keep the ice away, and I know it keeps coming back, but whatever you can do will be most appreciated to our pedestrians. Thanks.
Police Chief Aaron Zimmerman.
Thank you. Good evening. I guess since we're talking about snow, the last storm, again, the DPW and all the rest of the village employees that worked, around the clock, pretty much still working to mitigate snow piles and remove the snow from some of the more crowded streets. We towed 23 cars because of the snow emergency for people that didn't move their cars. So please, next time, let's do a better job. The reason for that is so we can clear the roads and keep them safe for everybody. Make sure the plows can get through and keep the roads clear for emergency vehicles as well, ambulances, fire trucks, police cars. Grant that the village manager mentioned is part of a technology grant for intermunicipal or interagencies agreement with other police departments, where 5 agencies in Westchester and 1 in Putnam County, part of a grant application to help subsidize a records management system and technologies that are all being used by all the agencies involved. So Carmel Police Chief Anthony Hoffman was the one who actually wrote the grant on behalf of the other 5 agencies, and were awarded this grant. So it was a good job by Chief Hoffman, and some of that money was used to help cover the cost of our new records management system, which will be up and running about 3 months if everything goes according to plan. And that will be great, because we're just about halfway through a desk renovation project. So noticed, especially everyone coming in, our desk was temporarily moved into the court lobby. So we still have a pardon our appearance sign in the front of our normal headquarters door, but behind the scenes there, working tirelessly to get that project done so we can be up and running as normal sooner rather than later. But it's a big deal. That project was also subsidized by a grant through Senator Harkin's office. So big things to come. Other than that, you should start seeing an increase in foot patrol around the village as the temperatures hopefully get a little bit warmer. See more of it, but even in the colder temps, you'll see cops on foot in the downtown area and along Croton Avenue and Main Street. Part of a initiative to get out there and walk a little bit more and press the flesh with the community a little bit more. So business owners and residents alike. So if you see them out there walking, it's on purpose. So say hi, wave. And other than that, our second annual Cops versus Kids snowball fight went wonderfully this year. We're still reigning champions. So maybe next snowstorm, the kids can bring a little bit better competition. That's a joke. Just kidding. We did not throw snowballs at kids.
I know.
Everyone's like, oh, yeah, yeah, you should have won here.
Case in point, I'm not sure everybody hears it in the room. The microphones are
Yeah.
better, I think, on Zoom than they are here. Um,
Thank you all. Organizational announcements. Is anyone here to make an announcement about an event related only and should not be longer than 2 minutes in length? Seeing no one, is there anyone online that would like to raise their little virtual yellow hand? No? Okay, thank you. Public comment on agenda items. Visitors are accorded a 4-minute opportunity to address the board on any resolutions on the agenda. Seeing no one here, is there anyone online? Visitor recognition. Visitors are accorded a 3-minute opportunity to address the board on issues not relating to the agenda, but of relevance to the common good of the village. We do have several people that have signed up on the sheet for that. We'll start with them. Matt? Again, please remember that you have a 3-minute opportunity.
Thank you. Matt Mitchell, 4 Rockledge Avenue. I'm here to talk about the lack of street parking on Rockledge, Hudson, and Liberty. It's become worse, obviously, with the snowfall. And what's happening is people that live on Hudson, there's a lot of rentals over there. They don't have enough parking for the rental units on site for the property. So they would park on Hudson. What I've been told, they've been getting ticketed if they park on Hudson. So now they come down and park on Liberty, Rockledge, which kind of, is kind of exacerbates the situation that we have over there with the lack of parking. I live at 4. Next door to me is 2. That's a 5 or 6 unit building. They have no on-site parking at all. So everybody's on the street. Fortunately, there's a tenant in that building that runs a cleaning service out of there, out of the apartment. They have their employees come down in the morning. They use their non-logoed vehicles for their employers. They leave their cars there 12 hours a day, not allowing any of the residents to use that parking in front of the building. Again, the houses are old over there. So a lot of the driveways, mine included, are only suitable for 1 car. 4 Rockledge is like I said, is me. 2, then 6 has a 1-car driveway, and 8. That owner owns both those. He owns both houses. 6 and 8. 8 is a 2-family rental. He has adequate parking for his tenants, but they don't. I'm assuming he doesn't allow them to park there because they don't park in his driveway. They park on the street as well. So I don't know what the policy or ordinances or laws are about letting people use driveways if there's ample room. I will finish with this morning. A traffic enforcement officer was out front of my house, and I asked, everything okay? And he said, I'm ticketing this car, my car. I said, what for? He said, it's an abandoned vehicle. I said, it's not. I was away during the snowstorm. I didn't come back till that following Wednesday. Snow, and it got plowed in. It is what it is. He said that I was subject to being towed if I didn't clear out the snow. I asked him where should I put the snow, because again, I have a postage stamp front lawn with about 4 foot of snow on it that I've taken from the sidewalk, the driveway, and everywhere around my property. So obviously, that wasn't his concern. Anyway, the car was not legally. He should know the law. It's not an abandoned vehicle. It's registered. It's inspected. It has a valid parking permit on it. So I would have been given an unlawful, in my opinion, unlawful ticket. And maybe there are many other people that will receive that as well.
Thank you, sir. Jacob? Oh, hand them to me.
If I may just distribute a statement with
No,
some
to-
graphics.
Hand them to me.
The answer is you have to give it to her.
Yeah.
Well, good evening. I'm Jacob Harden. I live at 32 Hudson Street with my partner. We've been there for about 4 years. I'm here to petition in regards to parking on Hudson Street, that Hudson Street be added as a designated street with one-sided parking, that being on the east side. Due to our home as well, the historic house with limited parking. Since I purchased the house, parking my vehicle on the street every night. I've never had an issue till this past October. I myself and all the neighbors were very confused about what was going on. I talked with the town, was notified that Hudson Street was not listed as a designated street. I did get my overnight sticker, but I am relegated to parking on only Rockledge or Liberty. If you look at the sort of overall collector area of this neighborhood, at least 62 parcels. Many of those, as neighbors mentioned, have multiple apartments on those lots, so there's even more residents than that. So I figure about 14 spots are available on Rockledge and Liberty. So logistically, not enough parking just on that limited area. Consistently on Hudson Street every night prior to October, but even now, because there just isn't enough parking, there's at least 12 vehicles parking on Hudson Street. So we have 12 vehicles that have to park somewhere, and there's only 14 spots available. So there's just not enough parking. Hudson Street should be designated for an overnight parking street. Also, the parking on Hudson Street was serving as a calming element. Traffic feeds through there, and with the vehicles parked there, it was helping to slow down the traffic. Not happening anymore. I've noticed at night, cars are driving. In some ways, I feel like we might be exploited for ticket revenue because this was a non-issue mission in the code, and I sort of at the expense of our sanity. You know, I have canceled events because I was worried I would lose a parking spot on Rockledge or Liberty, or I've been relegated to parking at the Ossining train station and walking to my house 30 minutes away. I even told my family that they couldn't come for Christmas because, as you know, visitors can't park. They could not come because there wouldn't be parking for them. Rearrange my schedule. So it's personally affected me and my sanity and created anxiety. So I would petition that you add this street as designated overnight parking street in an expeditious time frame because it is affecting everyone in this area.
Thank you very much. Gina?
Gina Piazza, 10 Riverview Court, and also Vice President of the Sparta Association. So I'm speaking on behalf of our community regarding the Hudson Street parking issue. As you know, Sparta is an older, historic neighborhood. The lack of overnight parking that recently became an issue for residents on Hudson Street is causing a cascade of upset in the community. We have no ability to remedy this urgent matter without the assistance and action of the village. The lot size of homes on Hudson is an enormous constraint. Some of these homes on Hudson built between 1892 and 1920 sit on extremely limited and narrow properties. For some, the home itself is basically the width of the lot. Most have single, undersized garage, not built for today's vehicles, some with only enough space for a single car in the driveway. Though many Ossining properties might have enough room to create a long driveway where they can park multiple cars, these houses back up against a granite cliff 25 feet high, rising up to the homes on Spring Street up above. With the new ticketing for street parking,
parking. I noticed one home is now parking a car on their lawn of their tiny little lot. The lack of permitted on-street parking on Hudson places an incredible burden on the homeowners of the historic area who choose to purchase a home in the village of Ossining. It forces residents to jockey for position in the limited permitted space on Liberty Street, which is exacerbated by the requirement that overnight parking on Liberty Street is alternate side only, further limiting available space. A homeowner who chose to purchase a home on Hudson, especially toward the northern end of Hudson, cannot enjoy overnight visits from family or friends without having to park cars either on Liberty, in essence, a 2-block walk, if they can even find a spot. Alternative available overnight permitted parking in Sparta beyond Liberty Street would be on either Revolutionary Road or up on Riverview Court, which are 3 or 4 blocks away from them, and both are fully utilized, or parking at Scarborough train station or Arcadian Shopping Center, which is more than half a mile away. These are unreasonable solutions for a tax-paying homeowner in the village of Ossining. In addition to the current situation, the neighborhood is undergoing turnover with several transitioning properties in Sparta that may potentially be sold within the next few years, including a 3 to 4 unit property that has no off-street parking and currently nobody lives there that is parking on the street. It will also impact the situation on Liberty. We ask that the remedy of designating permitted overnight parking on the east side of Hudson Street be prioritized by the village of Ossining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
Amen for Liberty Street. I want to reiterate what my neighbors have said. The cars are just jammed in at night on Liberty Street and around the corner at Rockledge, to the point where I can't even put out my garbage without either putting it in the driveway apron, moving it to the sidewalk, backing out, putting the garbage back. Apron. You can't back out because the street, the parking is so close to the apron and congested on both sides. It all started when Hudson Street was left wide and clear. For years, I've been there over 30 years. For years, Hudson Street was parked on. It was not as congested as it is now. Now Hudson Street is wide open. As a result, and by the way, I want to thank you for putting up the stop sign. That was brilliant. But nobody pays attention to it at all. At all. If you want to raise revenue, take a look at what I see. They go around the corner at high speed. It's really dangerous. They don't even act like the sign's there. I think if we allowed parking on the streets, it would narrow the streets a little bit and cut down the through traffic, calm it a little bit. I also think speed humps would do a great job there. The traffic moves very quickly, and you have a congestion of cars on Liberty and Rockledge, and then it opens up wide like a highway on Hudson Street. So you put all those things together and you get very unwieldy traffic. I think it's actually very dangerous. But the chief issue here tonight is the congestion on Liberty and Rockledge. There just isn't enough space for the cars. If you open up Hudson Street, it'll go back to the distribution that it had been for many years.
Thank you.
Okay. That is there anybody else here to speak? Or nope. Okay.
Can I?
Yep.
So these are listening sessions, and it's being recorded. Like we don't all, at least I don't take a lot of notes. It's all being recorded. A lot of it goes to attorney, to the clerk, to the village manager, to the chief. When you say things like people are running stop signs, that's an illegal action and it happens all over the world. So he can put more enforcement, right, chief, on the stop sign, et cetera, and in that area. And we have those complaints. So some of the learnings that we get about parking, we did a study in the downtown, learned a lot, reacted, did stuff. What we learn is that you can't fix a singular street problem. Here, one complaint of multiple issues, right? Overcrowded housing, right? We have a real housing issue in the Northeast. So people have taken houses and turned them into a couple of units and then multiple units and then businesses with multiple users, all repeating what you said. Some are probably legal, some are probably not legal. It's an enforcement issue, a whole bunch of stuff. Some should be using their driveway and garage. We have somebody on staff who's been arguing for that for a number of years now, that if somebody has a garage, they should be using it, not for storage, but for their cars. A lot of people you drive around don't do that. So those 2 spaces are now parking somewhere else. Landlords tell their tenants to park on the street. There is a myriad of issues. The issue for us in planning is you can't do a street. Because you do a street and all the problems move to another street, and then you fix that street and all those problems move to a third street, and then you go on and on and on through hundreds of streets. And actually in Ossining, like many river towns, we have a bunch of neighborhoods. And most neighborhoods believe that when they buy a house, that the parking in front of their house is theirs. The truth is, all streets are public, and anybody can park on them anytime, anywhere, whenever they want to. They belong to the public, not to the individuals on that street. So if you do street by street, you actually, from our perspective, aren't solving real issues. Not in your case, not in your case. So we are looking at parking more holistically, because we can't do something in one place and cause new problems in another. Some of the issues you raised, which have been recorded about how people are using or not using what they should be doing, if they have a driveway but they're not using it, a problem. If there are too many people in a building, and that's a code enforcement issue, all of those can be reported, by the way, to the building department if somebody's using things illegally or you think they're illegal. If you have any questions about the legality, you can call the building department. You could email them and say, look, I see this going on. Is this a legal 3-family? Are they allowed to do that? But some of it could be solved by code enforcement, right? Everybody has 2 cars, and we do see it in the snow. Some rules weren't kept for decades. Somebody looked at the zoning and the rules and said, you know what? It hasn't been followed for many years. For the residents, it becomes a burden. From a legal perspective, it's always been on the books, but not really instituted. So we are in the process, the way we did in downtown, and the way we're building a new parking, a multi-level parking garage, and the way we now make developers, when they build, to build appropriate level of parking, because we understand the effect of one neighborhood under the other. And there are many neighborhoods. Just 2 neighborhoods here tonight. Get lots of pieces on that. We're hoping the multimodal will help some of this. We help the new developments with their parking, helps with some of this. But there's only so much linear footage on every street. Only so many cars that can fit. And expectations of people of how far they're willing to walk every day. Park a car. You live in the city, you'll walk half a mile. Live here, you bought a house, you pay taxes, you don't expect to walk half a mile. That's not why you bought a house. We all live here, in all different houses throughout different neighborhoods. So the village manager, the attorney, the clerk, this is our sort of looking at the parking in zones in different areas is part of what we're doing. Looking at people who are requesting more parking because they want to put some facility in, or they want to put apartment buildings in because there's such a shortage of housing, really throughout the whole East Coast, as far as I can understand, brings with it more needs for parking too, right? So all of this domino, and we have to look at that. Not enough to say, oh, you're building enough parking for your building, because we know that building will have effect on the neighborhoods in the area. And so we're actually very careful these days that we weren't 30 years ago. I mean, I've lived here about 32 years. I remember what it was like, and a lot more focus has been put on that. So it's going into looking at the streets that both groups, group of one, group of many, are looking at as we move forward to look at what we can do about parking. We can't expand the roads, can't make them longer, and there's, we're limited in what we can do. Bumps are not a viable answer for most parts, and it's not a unanimous agreement on this board. It's a majority agreement. It's a problem for snow plowing. Even in New York, in the city, they really put them where there are schools, not throughout neighborhoods. They're not easy to do. They're expensive to maintain, etc. Stop signs, as you see, sort of help, not so much, and they don't do anything for parking. And the idea of having parking as slowing down traffic, sounds reasonable to me, but I actually don't think that any engineer would actually agree with that. And all of this comes because we have so much snow that there's even less parking than there ever was. So all of your comments have been recorded. Welcome to send emails, which we get either to BOT at Village of Ossining, New York, gov, any of us individually. And as you did, this goes on the record, like all of this. So we'll have all of that to look at. And we are looking at parking in residential neighborhoods, and we're going to prioritize them because some neighborhoods, very few, some don't have major issues. And many of the suggestions, like if somebody has parking on their property, they should be using it. And they should be using it for that building. Very well taken, and something that we are looking at. And how to enforce that then becomes step 2. That was just commentary. This is not a Q&A, although you're all welcome to set up meetings with the village manager and our head engineer if you want more detailed information, or with the chief of police if you want to know more about. And fourth, you can also contact the chief of police directly if you feel people are running stop signs or speeding through your neighborhood. You take pictures and have proof of license plates, always appreciated. You could deal with him openly through emails. Very transparent system. I don't know if I've left anything off, and our attorney is here as well to look at this. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate, always nice to see people that I see who sit on so many of our committees. You could, the ticket, which you're upset about that, I guess you got this morning? But you spoke with him. Okay. So I appreciate, I appreciate that you brought it forth, and I appreciate that he listened to you. And Jesse, you don't have to, I just can't see him. So I'm glad that it worked out, and I appreciate you bringing it forth also for public knowledge. So we will look at that as well. But you're always welcome to either call the clerk or to call the manager or the chief. Just send them emails with questions. They do a pretty good job of answering questions, and some of them have to be settled in the court. But I'm glad it worked out for you, and thank you for bringing up of those issues. I don't know if anybody else has any commentary. It's really more of a listening exercise, but since you all came here on such a cold night, I thought I would at least give a little perspective that we are looking at parking in different neighborhoods without hurting other neighborhoods in our solutions. Sue?
Village Board resolutions. Approval of minutes. Approval of minutes, January 21st, 2026. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves minutes of the January 21st, 2026 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any questions? Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of voucher.
Sue,
I'm sorry.
you need to abstain. I was not here.
Okay.
One abstention.
Yep. Okay. Approval of voucher detail report, February 4th, 2026. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated February 4th, 2026 in the amount of $617,637.84. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the IBWTP voucher detail, February 4th, 2026. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the IBW, which is the water treatment plant, voucher detail report dated February 4th, 2026 in the amount of $31,032. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Sue?
All in favor?
Aye. Abstain.
One abstain. Board of Trustees revision of 2026 fee schedule. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining 2026 fee schedule is revised to include the following effective February 4th, 2026. Collateral loan brokers, pawn brokers, Village Code 110-4D 2026 fee $250 annually. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Department of Public Works, Westerly Road paving and sidewalk improvements. Resolved that the following review of Corporation Council, the village manager is authorized to sign the December 2nd, 2025 proposal from KSCJ Consulting, 500 Main Street, Armonk, New York, 10504, to provide professional engineering services for the preliminary design of improvements to the existing roadway, curb, and sidewalk along Westerly Road, generally between the intersection of Snowden Avenue to the north and continuing south to this train station pavilion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Department of Public Works, stormwater infiltration and inflow evaluation. Resolved that following review of Corporation Council, the village manager is authorized to sign the December 2nd, 2025 proposal. I feel like I'm doing a deja vu. KSCJ Consulting, 500 Main Street, Armonk, New York, 10504, to provide professional engineering services relating to the village's grant through the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation Wastewater Infrastructure Engineering and Planning Grant to evaluate the stormwater infiltration and inflow within the existing village-owned storm sewer system in downtown areas and its tributaries. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Department of Public Works, proposed improvements to Sherman Place. Resolved that following review of Corporation Council, the village manager is authorized to sign the November 3rd, 2025 proposal for KSCJ Consulting, 500 Main Street, Armonk, New York, to provide professional engineering services for the development of a drainage system in preparation for preliminary design drawings and the proposed improvements to the existing village storm conveyance system on Sherman Place. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Corporation Council, public hearing proposal, local law 2026, amending Chapter 270 zoning. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 p.m. on February 18th, 2026 at the Bertzoll Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Main Spring Street, Ossining, New York, and via Zoom to consider the proposed local law 2026 amending Chapter 270 zoning, and to be it further resolved that the proposed local law adds definitions to adult use cannabis dispensaries, public youth facility and vape shops, smoke shops, and cannabis and vape paraphernalia shops, adds adult use cannabis dispensaries and in addition to standards to use groups, and revises Appendix A, use tables, and Appendix C, public parking requirements, and be it further resolved that those members of the public who wish to attend to and participate in the public hearing remotely, access will be available through the Zoom platform, and be it further resolved, any comments for the proposed local law will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at the BOT at villageofossiningny.gov. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Just for a comment, this is a proposal for a public hearing, not a proposal for the actual
Law.
law. So for
This is
people,
just to call for the public
for
hearing.
the public
Jason.
hearing.
Right.
And all of the pieces before that, the reason we don't discuss it tonight, unless we have some additional questions, they were all discussed last week in the work session. That's normally the way government works, work session 1 week, and then if we want to move something forward, we move it to legislative session, is what we're doing tonight. So if anybody wants to hear the details of the ones up to this point, and it'll keep going, almost everything was discussed last week in the work session. It's all recorded for public use. Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Corporation Council, public hearing proposal, local law 2026, amending Chapter 270 zoning. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 p.m. on February 18th, 2026 at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street, Ossining, New York, and via Zoom to consider the proposal local law 2026 amending Chapter 270, and be it further resolved that the proposed local law would add a new article XX1122, temporary moratorium on battery energy storage systems, and be it further resolved that members of the public who want to attend and participate in the public hearing remotely, access will be available via Zoom platform, and be it further resolved that comments regarding the proposed local law can be accepted by the Board of Trustees at BOT at villageofossiningny.gov. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Corporation Council, public hearing, proposed local law 2026, amending Chapter 270 zoning. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 p.m. on February 18th at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street, Ossining, New York, and via Zoom to consider the proposed local law 2026, amending Chapter 270, Article XIX, zoning moratorium on the RDD and SP-N zoning districts. And be it further resolved that the proposed local law will extend the moratorium involving the construction of any residential units in the RDD Riverfront Development District and the SP-N Station Plaza North zoning districts for the additional 4 months from March 17th, 2026 to July 17th, 2026. And be it further resolved that those members of the public which want to attend and participate in the public hearing remotely, access will be available via the Zoom platform. And be it further resolved that comments regarding the proposed public law will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at the BOT at villageofostingny.gov. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
So Stuart, we have 3 public hearings on the 18th.
Yes, at this time.
This time there are 3 public hearings on different topics. Okay. Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A resolution authorizing road improvements in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, at the maximum estimated cost of $550,000 and authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of $250,000 in serial bonds of said village to pay for the cost thereof. Be it resolved that the affirmative vote of no less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, New York, the village, as follows. Section 1, the reconstruction and resurfacing of roads in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, including sidewalks, curbs, gutters, drainage, landscaping, and other improvements at the cost incidental thereof, to hereby authorized and subject to permissive referendum at the maximum estimated cost of $550,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing for the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is as follows. The issuance of a $250,000 serial bonds of said village, hereby authorized to be issued therefore pursuant with the provisions of the local finance law and by application and expenditure of $300,000 of CHIPS funding to be received in connection therein. Upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in the summary of the official newspaper of the village for such purpose, together with the notice of the village clerk in subsequent to the form to provided for Section 881-0.000 of the local finance law. The resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Have to be a roll call, right?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Resolution authorizing the purchase of a dump truck in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, at the maximum estimated cost of $195,000 and authorizing subject to permissive referendum and the issuance of 195,000 serial bonds of said village to pay for the cost thereof. Be it resolved that if by an affirmative vote of no less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, the village from now on, as follows. The purchase of a dump truck in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, is hereby authorized subject to permissive referendum for the maximum estimated cost of $195,000. The plan, Section 2, the plan of the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost of the issuance of the 195,000 serial bonds for the Village of Ossining, hereby authorized, is issued therefore pursuant with the provision of local finance law. Upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in the summary of the form of the official newspaper of the village for the purpose, together with the notice of the village clerk to substantiate the form provided in Section 81.00 of the local finance law. Section 10, the resolution is adopted by subject to permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution authorizing the Lakeview Water Tank Painting Project in and for the Village of Ossining, New York, Westchester County, New York, for a maximum estimated cost of $4,260,000, and authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of $4,260,000 in serial bonds of the said village to pay for the cost thereof. Whereas the project described herein is determined to constitute a type 2 action as determined under regulations of New York State
Promulgated.
pursuant with the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which in such definition will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, the village, as follows. Section 1, the Lakeview Water Tank Painting Project in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, is hereby authorized and subject to permissive referendum for a maximum estimated cost of $4,260,000. $400,000 additional has been therefore authorized an expenditure for the preliminary design and engineering expenses. The plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is for the issuance of $4,260,000 in serial bonds of said village, hereby authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant with the provisions of the local finance law.
It's really long.
Upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of the said village, and for purpose together with the notice of the village clerk substantially in the form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law. This resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Finance adjustment to the 2022 Lakeville Water Tank Painting Project. Whereas village management wishes to adjust the capital project in accordance with the bids received for the 2022 Lakeville Water Tank Painting Project with the original estimated budget of $400,000 funded by the Water Fund balance to be adjusted project not to exceed $4,660,000, designated to be financed by $400,000 transferred from the Water Fund balance previously approved on 12/31/2021, and $4,260,000 debt service. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the capital project budgets will be adjusted as follows. And the adjustments are posted on the bulletin board at the clerk's office, and also they are on the webpage. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Financing, establishing a 2026 stormwater inflow infiltration investigation for grant funds and 2025 general fund balance. Whereas the village management wishes to establish capital projects in accordance to the 2026 capital plan for stormwater inflow infiltration investigation not to exceed $60,000, designated to be financed by an EFC grant funding of $49,500 and 2025 general fund balance of $10,500. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the capital project and capital project budgets are established as follows. And again, those adjustments and to the budgets is posted on the bulletin board in the clerk's office and are available on the village webpage. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Corporation Counsel. Authorization settlement of litigation. Resolved that upon recommendation of Corporation Counsel, the Village Outside Defense Counsel, the Board of and the Village Outside Defense Counsel, the Board of Trustees approves the settlement and claims of the matter of Paula Dimmy versus the Village of Ossining, and in the matter of the claim of Paula Dimmy in the state of New York, and be it further resolved upon review of Corporation Counsel and the general release and settlement agreement, current and for potential Medicare beneficiary, the village treasurer is authorized to issue a check in amount of $27,500 payable to Paula Dimmy and Beldock and Sanders, PC, as attorneys. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Just one.
Yes.
To refresh me, is this the steps?
These were the steps, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Board of Trustees, notice of declaration to become lead agency in the referral of the Environmental Advisory Council and referral to the Environmental Advisory Council. Whereas the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees, the Board of Trustees is considering the adoption of proposed law 2026, a local law amending Chapter 270 zoning, and whereas the proposed local law would amend Section 270-4 definition use group classifications by adding definitions for adult use cannabis dispensaries, public youth facilities, and vape shops, smoke shops, and cannabis and vape paraphernalia shops, amend Section 270-26, additional standards of use groups. For the adult use cannabis dispensaries and vape groups, smoke shops, cannabis, and vape paraphernalia shops, and amend use and parking tables. And, sorry, apologize. And whereas SECRA Regulation 217-4 identifies it as a type 1 action, the adoption of changes that for allowable uses within any zoning district affecting 25 or more acres in the district. And whereas whereas some of the zoning districts impacted by the proposed law are located west of Route 9A, requiring the review of the village's Environmental Advisory Council, the EA.
It's Route 9, not Route 9A.
Oh, I apologize. Let me read that again. Whereas some of the zoning districts impacted by the proposed local law are located west of Route 9, requiring review of the village's Environmental Advisory Council, and whereas pursuant with the village code, the Board of Trustees shall refer to the completed coastal assessment form and the village manager and the village's Environmental Advisory Council, and whereas pursuant with the village code section 262-5F, the Board of Trustees shall make the determination for consistency after receiving the EAC's recommendation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining declares itself lead agency for the proposed local law amending Chapter 270 zoning, and be it further resolved that pursuant with the SECRA Regulation 617.3D, the Board of Trustees and as lead agency will make every reasonable effort to involve other agencies and the public in the SECRA project, and be it further resolved that the lead agency of the Board of Trustees makes a preliminary classification of the proposed amendments of Chapter 270 constitute a Type 1 action, and that the full environmental assessment form, parts 1, 2, and 3, will be prepared, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees refers to the proposed amendments in Chapter 270 with the coastal assessment form to the village's EAC for recommendation as to whether the proposed action is consistent with the LWRP, and be further resolved that upon receipt of the EAC's recommendation, the Board of Trustees will make a consistently sorry, I apologize. Finding regarding the proposed amendment for Chapter 270, and be further resolved that the Board of Trustees as lead agency will make the determination of significance within 20 calendar days upon receipt of the full environmental assessment forms and other reasonable necessary information, or within 20 calendar days if of its establishment as lead agency, whichever comes later. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Stuart, can we get like the 30-second elevator pitch of what this is
This is
related to the one
This is the
earlier?
local law relating to cannabis.
Right.
It is required by state law to have a state environmental quality review analysis. It is a type 1 action
Okay.
because of the amount of the village that would be involved. And the board then declares itself as lead agency. There will be a referral to the Environmental Advisory Council, and the environmental assessment forms will be prepared. So when the board, after the public hearing and the board considers the local law for consideration, there will also be a resolution adopting the consistency finding by the Environmental Advisory Council, and finding that there is no significant adverse environmental impact resulting from this local law.
So the EAC gets it after the public hearing.
No, the EAC gets it now.
The EAC gets it now, then there's a public hearing on the 18th.
Yes.
Okay. Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
For any continuing business of the board?
Anybody? Is there anybody online, Jamie? Okay. So, anybody? No? Sue?
Okay. New business of the board. Board of Trustees, appointment to the Recreation Advisory Board. Resolved that the Board of Trustees appoints Tom McIntyre. McIntyre? Oof, woof. As the Village of Ossining member of the Recreation Advisory Board for the term expiring December 31st, 2027. Do I have a motion?
You want? Okay.
We have second?
Second,
Second.
anybody? Okay. I'll let the liaison say a few words.
Liaison?
So both the public service announcement and a conversation. Tom was previously on the board and has stepped off for a while due to his personal kind of busyness. And so now that his time's more available, he wants to step back in. We actually have multiple openings on the Recreation Advisory Board for village representatives. So we're still looking for a couple.
Okay.
And if you're interested,
Please join.
please join. We'll be reaching out for, there are a couple more applications currently in. We'll reach out to for discussions.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want to take this?
Sure.
Yeah, I got one.
Now substituting. Board of Trustees, public hearing request for hardship exception to T zoning district moratorium. Whereas on November 5, 2025, the Board of Trustees adopted Local Law 5-2025, amending Chapter 270 zoning by adding a new Article 21 moratorium in the T two-family zoning district. And whereas the purpose of the local law was to temporarily suspend the processing or approval of applications for conditional use permits in the T two-family zoning district. And whereas the moratorium is scheduled to expire on July 13th, 2026. And whereas Section 270-112 of the Village Code details the process for an applicant to request an extraordinary hardship exception to the moratorium. And whereas U.S. Help Inc., DBA Muslim Community Center, the owner of 50 North Malcolm Street, section block and lot 89.15-4-60, submitted a letter dated January 22, 2026, requesting a hardship exemption. And whereas Section 270-112 requires a public hearing on any application for an exception to the moratorium to be held no later than 45 days after receipt of a complete application. And whereas the application from U.S. Help Inc. is considered to be complete. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 p.m. on February 18, 2026 at the Birdsall-Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street, Ossining, New York, and via Zoom, to consider the application of U.S. Help Inc., DBA Ossining Muslim Community Center, 980 King Street, Chappaqua, New York, for a hardship exemption to the T zoning district moratorium. And be it further resolved that members of the public are invited to attend the public hearing in person at the above referenced location. And be it further resolved that those members of the public requiring a reasonable accommodation to participate in the public hearing due to that person's disability shall notify the Corporation Council no later than 7 days before the public hearing, to afford the village sufficient time to provide the reasonable accommodation. And be it further resolved that for those members of the public who want to attend or participate in the public hearing remotely, access will be available via the Zoom platform. And be it further resolved that comments regarding the application will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at BOT at villageofossining.ny.gov. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so I think we have some, you want to explain what's going on here?
Certainly. Thank you. And I know we do have some folks in the audience who will have some things to say as well. The village received a request, and I think we've copied you, the board, on the letter dated January 22nd, requesting the hardship exemption. And the code does provide for a hardship exemption, and the basis for it, it does require a public hearing. So this particular resolution would call for the public hearing on the 18th to deal with the hardship exemption. I just want it to be understood to the public and the board, permitting the public hearing and even granting the exemption, all that will do is allow this to then file an application and go to the planning board, because the planning board, it would be granting a conditional use permit, dealing and look at issues of parking and things like that. So that's that process. There is a second part of this, which is a request by U.S. Help to utilize the facility at 50 North Malcolm for services beginning as early as this Friday, as we are approaching the Ramadan season. This is important because from a timing perspective, even with the hearing on the 18th, and even if the Board of Trustees were to approve the exemption on the 18th, it won't be before the Planning Board at the earliest, maybe at February, but it may not make it till March based upon how calendars work. So the second part of this would be a request by the folks with the center to have services at the location, and it's 50 North Malcolm, for on a number of dates. And Dr. Naeem, who is here, has provided us with a list of those dates. A little background with regard to the location: 50 North Malcolm Street was for well over 100 years a Methodist church. The deed that's recorded goes back to 1905, but there was a church there before that. In 2020, the Methodist Church, the umbrella organization, closed the church, but the church continues to have its tax exempt status at that location. There is another associated property, which is essentially, if you want to call it a parish house, which is at 36 Ann Street around the corner. This application does not relate to 36 Ann because the services would only be held at 50 North Malcolm Street. The property was purchased by U.S. Help, I believe, in September of 2025. The folks from U.S. Help have prepared an application, and I know Mr. Hernandez is on, to the planning board. It has not yet been accepted because under the terms of the moratorium, until the board allows for the exception, no applications are to be accepted. But they have prepared the application in anticipation of the board, permitting the exception to go forward. So that's the public hearing part of it. As I said, the other part is to permit the use of the facility on dates beginning as early as this Friday, and it would be on Fridays. And I'll just do this. And Dr. Naeem, I'm sure you'll come up, so if I say anything wrong, you'll correct me. But it would be on Fridays, during the beginning as early as February 6th. And there's also a reference here as to Saturdays, at sundown, with regard to having services. And again, if it would be okay, Mayor, perhaps Dr. Naeem could come up and
Yeah,
sort of
well, you
explain
can all
that,
come up
or
if you
whoever
want.
there-
It's
well,
whoever's
come up-
representing can come up.
come up. But the idea of using it during the period before there is planning board approval would be that it would, during set periods of time. We understand that Mr. Saleh, who is not here tonight, has indicated that he has property at 173 North Highland, which he would allow to be used for parking for people who would want to use the facility to come and pray, so that we would not have parking issues on North Malcolm or on Ann Street. The location itself, while it has parking in the rear, it's very narrow to get to that area, and it's essentially one car in, one car out. So we would rather not use that for parking at this point. I can tell you that the building inspector or the code enforcement officer has been there, at least to the extent of see what has been done. There are prayer rugs throughout the location, so people can do that. But Dr. Naeem,
There
I
are
may
what
not have said
throughout the
everything.
location?
Prayer rugs.
Oh.
So Dr. Naeem, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Dr. Naeem. I have been practicing in New Rochelle for 52 years.
Could you tell us where you
We-
live, please? Just for the,
I'm sorry.
could you tell us where you live? You live in
I live-
Ossining and Briarcliff?
I live in Chappaqua.
Chappaqua,
Nine
okay.
actually is Mount Pleasant, but Chappaqua Post
Yeah.
Office. Okay.
Okay.
And Barham Hill Schools. Okay. So when people ask me, I get confused.
We all
Okay.
do, don't worry.
So it's 980 King Street, Chappaqua Post Office. That's where we live.
Thank you.
Now, in 2020, we formed a charity religious organization as U.S. Help. And we found out we have been helping people in South Bronx, okay, in a lot of different countries with the food, shelter, all kind of things. But then we found out that people in Ossining, community people in Ossining, do not have a place to worship. They're renting a place which hardly accommodates 20 to 30 people, has only one bathroom, which is used for both ladies and gentlemen, has only 4 parking spots, okay, and totally insufficient for the growing community. So we decided to purchase this church, which was being sold, okay, and it was in very bad shape. It was very dirty. We needed at least about 9 or 10 dump trucks to clean out the place. So we cleaned out, we put a new carpet, we made everything, and they came, okay, the people from there who are doing, okay, using the place came, they love the place, they want to use it. So that's why we are here. Now, the Ramadan month is starting on 18th of this days, okay? And I thought it'll be a great idea to have, okay, the local people come to our place, understand what Ramadan is, what fasting is about, okay, and what are the benefits of fasting, and those kind of things. So I was thinking that we want to have Friday prayers there, and also want to have Saturday, Friday, and Saturday, 2 days when I invite the local community, okay, which I mean people from the village, officials of the village, officials of the town, officials of the county, and also the local neighbors, not more than 50 people at a time, to join us to break the fast with us. Okay, this is only for 3 weekends. That's any other questions?
Yeah, because I appreciate the information. I'm sure there are questions. I thought Ramadan was 30 days and that you fast
Yes,
every day.
Ramadan is 30 days.
And you fast every day, no?
Yes, it
And
starts
then you
on,
break the fast at
on
night, no?
18th. Okay, but the first weekend we do not want to use
I see.
because we have to arrange for the things.
Okay.
So the second Friday and Saturday, third Friday and Saturday, and fourth one.
Okay. I want to make sure that we set up all the perimeters and parameters tonight for a number of reasons. We don't generally break moratoriums. The whole idea of a moratorium is to pause, and we don't make very many exceptions to that. So I want to be clear of what you need so that we agree to it tonight on record so that we don't get an issue where we didn't mention 2 or 3 nights. My understanding is Ramadan's 30 days. And so these are the dates you put in. Those will be the dates that we hold you to. People show up on other days, they're going to be in violation of an agreement. So I just want to make sure that we're very lined up on when it can be used and when it won't be used, because it hasn't passed any of the permitting or any of the conversations. And I know you already have rugs in there. They're usually very large, not easy to move them around. So I want to make sure that we have the right parameters, doctor,
Yes.
that you envision. So you've given it to the attorney, and this is when you want it used.
Yes.
Okay. Understood. And okay, so that's one question. The other question I have for you is Help USA. You're the vice president of the organization?
I'm vice president.
Okay, but Help USA is a national organization with chapters, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
It is. It's a national, global or national?
National.
Okay.
Okay, but we have volunteers working in other countries.
Okay, so
It's 100% volunteers.
So are you the vice president? Is this a local chapter of a national organization?
Is approved by the federal government. So it's a national one.
But you're a local
We
chapter
are
of a
local chapter.
national.
Okay, we are local, and we wanted to make this place also the headquarter of our place. So Ossining Muslim Center, okay, is the new name we adopted. US Help, DBA, Ossining Muslim Community Center.
Okay. All right, I'm trying to understand your entity because when I looked it up, it's a national organization that helps community members. I think it's mostly Muslim, but help others as well. If I read it correctly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just getting some clarification as to what the organization is. Are you building a community center or a religious?
A religious center.
A religious center?
Yes.
Okay. Which is what it was before, just.
Yes.
Okay. So you're continuing with that. And I understand that you've done work, but our attorney says all of which did not need any permits, so all is good, correct?
To this date, that's correct.
To this date.
The only thing I would point out, and Dr. Naeem is here, it is a place of public assembly, so it would require an operating permit by state law.
Right.
So at some point before the 6th, there would have to be an inspection to make sure that it has passed to get the operating permit. Because I don't know if that's been issued yet. If it
They
has
had
been,
the inspection, didn't they?
I know that there was someone there. I don't know if they issued the operating permit. I can't tell you. I don't have that in front of me. That just would need to be done. And we can arrange for that, but I just want to make
Okay.
sure it's been done.
So I'm already hearing from all parties concerned, you're in a place currently where the parking's an issue. And Mr. Sally, I mean, I usually just call him Sally because it's Sally, but called me before he left. And, you know, had a conversation with me about it. So I want to be transparent about that. And his parking lot will be used, and there's going to be boundaries on that as well. Because in that area, there's not a lot of parking. Because what you're saying is that this is a growing area. It's going to require more parking, and if it's men and women, it's going to require the bathrooms, and it's going to require ADA for handicaps. And so that's, I think, what the planning board is going to deal with, right, Stuart?
That'll be,
That's not
those
for
will be
us.
among the issues dealing on the conditional use permit, yes.
Okay.
But I will say, unlike the place where they were before, there are 2 bathrooms now. So in other words, they won't be queuing up as they were in the past at their prior
It
location.
depends how many people they're expecting.
Yes, but
Okay.
last time you just had one at where they were previously having services.
Okay, good. So those were just some of my questions. This is under new business because we did not hear at all about this. Came to the board exceedingly late. It's a little hard to juggle without notice. And if, you know, so we sort of have to just make decisions about whether we make this exception. So for me, this is, I'm glad somebody is renovating a church that's been sitting empty for who knows how long.
5 years.
You know, and, you know, if there's a growing community, need a place to pray, then I see nothing but an upside to it. Except there are some building issues for a building that's been sitting vacant for years is always problematic with many surprises to come. So I think the building department will have to be very involved in that. Do you have any questions for us? I'm going to turn it to the rest of the board.
No, not from my side.
Okay.
Thank you.
And this is a 501c organization?
Yes.
Okay, with a board and like just a regular 501c.
501c religious.
What's a 501c religious? Is that like an entity, Stuart? I never heard of
I
that.
don't know. I know it's a 501c. I don't know if
Should be a
501c.
501c3.
They have subclasses, charity, religious.
Yep, that's
Okay. So this
understood.
is combination of charity and religious.
Okay, but that we have to be clear about what entity this. I thought it was a 501c3.
501c3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
It is.
So it's not an Ossining. It's a chapter of a larger global organization. Sometimes they're just done different. Dana, do you have any questions, or Omar, anybody questions or comments?
So what you want to do tonight is figure out the guidelines for a way for them to worship there before
Or it goes in front of the board.
Goes in front of the
They're supposed to
board.
Go to, they're
Okay.
doing it backwards.
Okay.
And because given no time on this, we have to
I
We
will
want
let-
to, or
I
we
will-
don't do it tonight.
We'll let the board know that among discussion of staff with Dr. Naeem and Mr. Saleh, the facility was allowed to have, if you want to call it an opening, which would have been, I think, 2 Fridays ago. You know, we did it again on short notice, but that was done just so that they had already prepared to have people there on that Friday, I believe.
Yes.
And so it was done to just accommodate at that time for that one night. Obviously, the folks are coming back now for, you know, additional times because we indicated to them that, you know, it would be very difficult, particularly with the Ramadan holiday there, in terms of, you know, scheduling it, you know, if you want to call it in the secular world, about dealing with resolutions and board things like that. But we did provide them with the ability to have that first meeting, you know, the sort of, if you want to call it opening, with regard to the new facility at 50 North Malcolm. So, and again, it is in it is in a former church. I know that Senior Code Enforcement Officer Gross has been to the location. He has not reported any violations. I just want to clarify the issue of the operating permit because again, it is a place of public assembly. So it would require an operating permit to proceed. That's the main thing at that. There's no intent at this point to use any of the other structures within the building. It's basically, you know, the room and that area. It's the 36 Ann is not part of this. The classrooms, I don't think you're
No,
planning
we're
to
not
use.
using
So
right now.
it's just that one particular area.
Okay, but eventually, I'm assuming, did you buy the other piece of property too, or just this one?
Yes, the whole thing is one complex.
Both
We bought the whole-
parcels were part of the purchase.
So you bought the whole you
Yes.
bought the whole thing? Okay,
So
in the
the
classroom.
operating permit is date specific?
No, it would be annual for a year. So it's not for a specific event. In other words, they get an operating permit as a place of assembly. It's good for 1 year from the date of issuance.
Fine.
But that would not be in place before this exception we're being asked.
No, but in order to operate as a place of assembly, at a minimum, would be my strong recommendation that there be an operating permit in place. Now, that can be there, and then then at least they'll have the operating permit. That doesn't mean that the planning board can put other conditions, but at least they have to get an operating permit under any circumstance because it is a place of public assembly. So regardless of what they are, they'd have to have the operating permit.
So can we set,
How long does it take to get one of
can
those?
we
If
set,
they
con-
if they have if they can schedule the inspection, it can be done this week.
can we set conditions on that permit?
He's asking the opposite. He wants parameters on it, so it doesn't go on. I'm assuming you're asking
Exactly.
for that, because otherwise.
They're asking for this.
You're asking to really circumvent a whole bunch of things here.
You could, if I understand what the board's concern is, the operating permit could be limited to with an end date by which these, let's say, these services would take place, because we already have a list of the dates they're talking
Right.
about. So you could put that in there.
Okay,
and that would
because
be in there,
this property was purchased when?
September of 2025.
Of 25. And we're talking about this now. So that's why I want parameters set,
I'm sorry?
right? This was bought in 25 and we're talking about this now at the 11th hour at one of our meetings. I have no problem with giving them the permit, but I want it just for specific dates.
Understood. I'll communicate that to the building department so that they're aware of what has to be in there.
Yeah, the issue of everybody stopping what they're doing to fast track something that could have been done months ago is not appropriate to everybody else who's waiting their turn online to get permits, frankly. And there are lots of empty places in Ossining and certainly in Briarcliff. There was lots of empty places that places could be rented. So we have to tell everybody else that they have to that the same department now has to be put on hold because we're told at the absolutely last moment, without being given any opportunity to think about it. You know, so I mean, that's your request, I think, right? It's not the idea. Frankly, it's great that the church that's been sitting empty is going to be used. I mean, you know, that's a good thing.
I have no problem
It's all
with
good.
that. It's the fact of the
And if
timing of
there's
it.
parking for it, you know, we'll have to go. And if they're going to open up the school and they're going to open the next building, that becomes an even bigger issue. Parking, a whole bunch of people in here about parking. That is a very densely populated part of the community. So there's a balancing act here. So what do you want to do?
This is the building on the corner of Ann and North Malcolm?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Know where it
Old
is.
St. Matthew's Church.
Yes, I know where it is. I don't, I have a problem with the way it was done, but I don't have a problem giving them the permit, but with an end date.
Question I would have for you. Is if they miss-
Could you speak?
The question is, I understand why you would want an end date, but if the end date is missed, it actually might put our staff in a problematic scenario where now they're rushing to do something because we put an end date on it. So your idea is when the end date comes, like, you know, I'm thinking, what are the consequences? What's the purpose, the goal, and the consequences is what I'm thinking about. If you could share with me your thought on that.
I'm not understanding what you mean. You're putting the staff in a position because
If the end date is too soon and they're not finished with some of their work, am I not understanding how this would work?
no,
Maybe I don't
no, you're just
understand.
allowing them, the permit's allowing them to do what they want to do, but at the end of that, it's over.
Got it. Okay,
That's it.
That-
I'm not asking staff to do anything.
okay.
My understanding is that the operating permit would be to allow you to provide space for services during Ramadan. Services only on the designated days, Friday and the Saturday, and the public breaking of the fast on the Saturday for those 3 weeks. That's all that you would be doing. Is that all you would be doing?
Be a little louder, please.
Sure. Sorry.
Oh,
So I just want to confirm that.
is that better?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Sorry, I don't. This is on. I don't.
Yeah, I think that one's not good.
yes.
It's better.
If you're not speaking into the microphone, they can't hear you. So
Let me
just
restate the
into the
question. Let me restate the question. Okay.
Yeah, he's going to restate the question.
May I restate the question? Thanks. So my question was that there are two separate things going on. One is the request to potentially a hardship exemption for the moratorium, right? Which a whole separate set of issues and questions around providing a moratorium to the T-zone, providing an exemption to the T-zone moratorium, specifically to the use of the property on the corner. For the request is that you can use it for services on Fridays and Saturdays and breaking fast on Saturdays for the 3 weeks. Is that all you're requesting?
You need it for a whole month, actually. He's
4 weeks.
for 30 days, total 30 days.
That's not what the request is.
But that's why I'm asking, because what I had heard before was Friday and Saturday.
It's gonna be 30 days.
Let me explain to you again. Okay, we are going to have the services on Fridays, okay, for the whole month, starting from 18th of February
Mhm.
to, okay, 17th of March. Okay, then the iftar, which is breaking of the fast, okay, we want to have for only the 3 weeks. Okay, that's only on Friday and Saturday, but that's iftar. That's not the regular Friday services.
Okay.
It's breaking of the fast.
Okay.
Not the first weekend, okay, which is, okay, if starting on, I think, I don't have the dates with me, okay, but I wrote it down.
Friday would be the 20th. You said you could not do it.
Yes,
So the
because we have
27th you
to,
would start.
we have to program and let everybody know, and, okay, so that one will not do it.
So February
I'm talking
27th
about
would
the
be the
iftar.
first. February
fact-
27th would be the first then.
Yes. Okay.
But okay, this is where I want to be really specific, right? So Ramadan begins on the 19th.
18th.
18th, okay. You would be looking to do Friday services on the 20th,
Yes.
because you said 4 weeks of services, 3 weeks of
But-
breakfast.
But no breaking of the fast in this place on that day
Yep.
or Saturday. That Saturday.
Yep. So it's the one Friday, and then the following weekend on Friday and Saturday you would be services and breaking fast. The 6th and the 7th you would be, which is Friday and Saturday again, you would be service and break fast. Sorry, what's the word for it? The appropriate word?
Yeah.
What's
Specifically.
I'm sorry, two things.
I'm
Can you
sorry.
give us your name and where you live?
Yes,
Then-
my name is Shamim Islam and I live in Barcliffe.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's actually decided because we have another mosque in Ossining too. So he's also been there almost 20 years. So we have another communities that they can also decide that we're supposed to do everyday breaking fast or not. So only Mr.
Break fast every.
No, if they let us do it. So we want to request if they could give us for the whole month, but not every day, only for, as he says, Saturday and Sunday.
No,
Or
Friday
Friday.
and Saturday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
No
Friday,
Sunday.
Saturday, Sunday. Like
Not
those weekend.
Sunday.
That's-
Not Sunday, but some people wants to do it, but maybe he doesn't want,
No.
nobody comes in.
right? That's why I'm
Yes.
trying to be
That's
very specific around
Yes.
which days.
So some
Around which
people also
days?
wants to do, like they want to break on Sunday, but since he decided like not to do Sunday, it's okay. We could do Friday and Saturday because, if you guys let us.
But not the other days of the week. You said you want a 30-day permit?
30-day permits to do the.
That would allow you to use it at any time or just on those days?
No, just those 30 days just to pray. Like we have a 5 times prayer, but we only have like 5-6 people comes in on like in the morning, in the evening, and
Okay, so now
Now you're changing.
only
now
Friday.
we're all totally confused. So let's start again. Are you in a separate mosque or are you together as
No,
one
we
place?
do it together with the same mosque, but
Okay,
we also go to the other mosque. So
Closing.
which is we're not gonna have the mosque anymore because since everybody knows that we opened that mosque already and it's a bigger space, and and everybody moved from there.
I was told that the other one is already closed, not that it's closing.
It is closed, but I think they had suggest to the landlord to hold on because I think the building department said not to pray anymore. So we actually prayed when inspector came in. I was there, and he says okay to do the prayer.
So if I
We did the
understand,
prayer on Friday last 2 weeks ago. We did the prayer.
so if I
last
understand
week.
this correctly, you're looking for February 20th and 21st,
Mhm.
Friday, Saturday, 27th, 28th, Friday, Saturday, March 6th and 7th, Friday, Saturday, and then the 13th and 14th. That's it. There's your 4 weeks,
Yes.
correct? So the operating permit should be from the 20th of February to the 14th of March for those specific days, Saturday, Friday, and Saturday.
Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
Nothing in between.
No, for the whole Ramadan. Yes.
So to be clear, I think what we need, this was a little confusing on our end. So in addition to the Friday and Saturday services, you also want to be able to have people go in to pray at different times during the day for the whole month.
Yes, like
So basically you want to use okay, that wasn't
Yeah, that's not.
exactly clear to us,
if you guys let us do it.
but would,
It's not if we guys let you do it. They've been working on it
Okay.
with doctor who put something in writing. It's presented in a very specific way. That's why I started with, I really want to understand, you can get lots of stuff, but that's what all these discussions were supposed to do. Not tonight when it's coming in front of us, but with them before. And what you're presenting is not what was presenting to them. And so it makes this complicated. So We need to understand the use. People coming and going into a building is people using the building. There's no difference between praying, coming in to have coffee, or talking. If you're inside the building, you're inside the building. What you do inside the building is not really like, accommodating Ramadan.
Right.
So it would be like any other major holiday of any religion. It's an important religion. You
Yes.
want to be available. It's not what you're doing inside the building. It's that you're using the building. And what the question was, what do you need a building? Because you're asking for an exception to two scenarios, as was described by Trustee Yost. The moratorium, and then this other thing, which is to fast track something before it even gets to planning. So changing the narrative tonight makes it even more complicated. So we just need to understand remember I started, Doctor, with when do you need it? How do you need it? So that we can write up, make an agreement so the community where this church is located, that we in the board, that the staff all understand when the building will be open, when it won't be, what the use is, because you're using it without going through a process that needs to be done going forward. I don't see any problems, by the way, going forward, by the way. I mean, it was a church, now it's going to be either a center or a mosque. I don't know what the official title of it is. You've bought the whole lot. You know you need parking. I mean, this is a process that you working with the staff on. But tonight, to make exceptions, we have to be very clear. Changing the story in the middle, for whatever reason, actually just makes us sort of step back and say, what is it that you really want? So if you could start again, just say, what is it that you and the staff, before you walked in here tonight, what is your understanding? What dates do you needed? When does it start? When does it stop?
But that's the reason I put down on the minimum, we need Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if possible, Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Okay. But in our system, we do have prayers 5 times a day.
Yes.
And yes, it'll be perfect if we get the permit for all the 5 times a day, but I'm not pushing for it. Okay. Because, we don't, okay, we don't have the permits, so we cannot do it.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not pushing for it. The minimum we want, I told you already.
Okay. That's what you have,
But
Stuart?
what he's trying to do is to get for the 5 times. But
Okay.
yes.
Let's see what we can do here.
Okay, Ramadan begins on Wednesday, the 18th.
Yes.
Okay. You already said that first Friday, you will not be using the
Friday will
facility.
be services, but not the food.
So on Friday, the 20th, will you be using the facility?
Yes.
Okay, Friday, the 20th, from what time to what time?
Okay. The first one is the prayer. The prayer goes from 1 to 2.
Okay.
Okay. And then there'll be nobody there after that till, okay, the breakfast time, breaking the iftar time.
Okay.
Okay. We call it breakfast because that's the first time we're eating in the day.
Yes, but it's not actually a breakfast. What are the actual times?
Okay. It goes by the sundown.
So
So
It's at
whatever
sundown.
time the sundown is.
So you had indicated, Doctor, if I can just say this, on Friday, the 27th, the following week, sundown is at 5:45.
I put it down in the paper.
So
Yes.
that would mean for that evening service, people would be there around 5, or what
Okay,
time would they get
I
there?
will tell the people to come, including officials and neighbors
Right.
and everybody, about 20 minutes before. So they come, they understand what has to be done, okay, how we break the fast, how we pray, okay, and what is the purpose of it, and all kind of things.
So let me go back for a second, because I take this really like point by point. Friday, the 20th, 1 o'clock to about 2 o'clock.
Yes, that's one.
And then Friday at about, let's say, 5,
5:30.
5:30 till about when?
Till they finish the food and go.
Okay, now you say finish the food. Will you be bringing food in, or you're going to
No.
be cooking?
Yes, no,
there?
we'll
You're bringing food in.
we'll be getting the group food.
Okay, so that's Friday, February 20th. What about Saturday, the 22nd?
And it's ours. The eating part is celebratory. It's a few hours.
Understood. Well, okay, that I understand. Thank you, Mayor. How about Saturday, the 21st?
Okay. On Saturday, we'll have only the iftar
So that would only be at after sundown.
after sundown.
You would not have
Again,
anyone
they'll
at 1
come.
o'clock.
No, they'll come about 15 minutes before,
Right.
Okay,
15 to 20 minutes before.
understood. Okay. So then we go 1 week later. It's Friday, the 27th.
Yes.
You'd again have 1 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have here that sundown's about 5:45.
Yes.
So again, around the same time as the week before, maybe a little bit later.
Little
Because sundown would be a little bit later.
Because the
Okay.
days are getting longer.
Right.
so-
And on February 28th, that's Saturday, again, just for iftar, breakfast.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're into March, March 6th, Friday, 1 to 2, and then breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I believe you said on March 6th, sundown is 5:52 p.m.
Yeah.
So it pushes it a little further. And again, with the meal.
Then the,
Okay. And then that Sunday, March the 7th, would just be breakfast.
yes.
Okay. And then my apologies here. March 13th is a Friday, 1 to 2,
Yes.
and then breakfast. And you mentioned with March 13th, daylight savings has
Daylight
started,
saving
so
time
it's
kicks
actually
in.
not till about 7 p.m.
Yes.
Understood. And then March 14th, again, breakfast.
Yes.
Now, the following week, Ramadan is over.
It's over.
So we're only looking at the 20th, the weekends of the 20th, 27th, 6th, and 13th. Those Friday and Saturdays.
Mhm. Yes.
That's period. So
Okay. There are going to be people in there before setting up
understood.
and all that, but, minor detail, just a detail. Okay. And there are bathrooms there and all of that stuff, right?
Yes, there are 2 bathrooms
Okay,
in the
so we're all good.
There are 2 bathrooms for the ladies, 2 bathrooms for the
Even
Right.
better, 2 and 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Well, there was a church there with a school, so there has to be.
And two, I don't know.
We can't hear you.
No more confusion.
No. No, what he was saying is that Mr. Hernandez is on, but that's really more from the planning board.
I-
end,
I-
so it's
yeah, I-
really not
No
directly
interest in
related
that
here.
part, yeah.
So essentially what we're looking at is 1, 2, 3, 4 weekends. That's what it is. It's 4 weekends with the periods of time that we talked about. I would propose an agreement that the manager could sign, which would also be signed by a representative from US Help, essentially indicating what we've talked about. The operating permit would go for the period of those 4 weeks. And assuming planning board approval for a conditional use, then they would then get a new operating permit, which would then be for a year, because that's what the length of an operating permit is. After the fact, because we're only now talking about up to that point.
Is it in front of the planning board for the entire lot and the classrooms and all that, or
Their
just the-
application, because I've seen the plans, would be for both buildings,
Right,
relate to both
with the
buildings.
classrooms, with the parking, with the whole?
Well, the reason, because it's a conditional use,
Yeah.
because it's a religious use, and that
Right.
requires a conditional use. And the parish house was part of that use, so it would be both locations.
All right, so we would have to agree to lift the moratorium for this one event.
Well, the lifting of, well, yes and no. What you're doing, the purpose of the resolution before the board is to allow for the public hearing to grant an exception so they can go to the planning board. What you're discussing now is essentially before that. And
Right.
there's no real format in the law to do that. What I would do probably at the 18th meeting is have a resolution which sort of, in a sense, approves what you're sort of talking about here tonight,
Right,
because I can't do a resolution.
because you can't do it on the fly like this. Okay,
Used to be able-
the only, Pat, go ahead. Yeah, I saw you.
Keep going.
I said the only thing is, it's now in front of the board. What I don't want to have happen is we leave here and in the next week, this all gets discussed by staff and gets changed again. I'm not okay with that.
No, I think,
I'm not happy about this redefinition of things. So clarity is one thing, redefining and asking for more. Asking because then on the 18th, we're going to sit here again, being surprised by what's being said in front of us. So we've got to
No.
settle what we
Well,
all agree upon
I think the
tonight.
important thing for Dr. Naeem and folks to understand here is if the board is in agreement tonight, you're basically going to get those 4 weeks, those 4 weekends. That's it. And when we get to that last Saturday, when you break fast, at that point, the facility cannot be used unless and until the planning board acts,
Right.
assuming that
Otherwise, yeah.
allows you to go to the.
Yes.
It will not be a good thing in front of the planning board if the rules are already broken, even with the best of intentions. We have lots of people and organizations who want to break the moratorium for very good reasons. We simply don't do it. And I did say that to Sally when I spoke to her. It's not something we like to do. So we're being asked to do 2 things that we normally don't do. And we're opening the door to other groups saying, why for one group but not for another? So we have to think in a bigger picture. It isn't just specific to one request. And that's an explanation of why we're asking all these questions.
And Mayor, I just wanted.
And I think Pat had a question.
I just wanted for the doctor, because I thank the manager for reminding me, it is understood that it's only during the hours of 1 to 2 and for breakfast. So I know that ordinarily would be 5 times a day for prayer. This facility won't be used for that. It'll only be used for those 2 periods of time.
Yes.
Understood.
That's
Thanks.
has to be the understanding.
And the parking will be on North Highland?
Yeah, it's where.
Is it walkable? It's pretty close.
We have about 7 or 8 parking spots in our property. Also, one of our members, Mr. Saleh, okay, the one
Yeah,
who
it's
owns
the
this,
picture.
okay, Seatown, okay, he has a lot on Snowdon, okay, which holds about 20
Yeah.
spots.
It's
Is
not-
it part of the old Brandon Furniture
Yes.
property? Okay.
Yes. No.
Oh, okay.
So he has. Snowdon is
Dr.
different
Naeem,
from
one
that
thing.
one, right?
Dr. Naeem, if I might, because the parking on the location will be an issue before the planning board, the parking's going to have to be at the Snowdon location. We can't have parking at 50 North Malcolm because
Hasn't been
it
improved.
hasn't been approved yet. And we don't know because again, it's only one way in, one way out. The 2 cars cannot make it down into that. So that's something that's going to have to be dealt with by the planning board. So what I would urge you is that the parking, that for people who are not going to be walking to the center for the services during these 4 weeks, they're going to have to park at the Snowdon lot. That's where they're going to have to do it. Okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Snowdon North Highland.
Snowdon North Highland, the one.
Yeah, well, the property
Yes.
goes that way.
Right.
It's quite large.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think though, Trustee White was saying, like, how walkable is it? Because on one hand, you're saying we have 40 or 50 families, which is why we're growing, why we're leaving. On the other hand, you're saying you have 7 spots, 40 to 50 families. Even if it were just 40 people, that's 20 cars.
Mhm.
So you're already, and you've heard all these discussions about parking. When that church was built, believe me, parking was not a big deal. All those things in 1905, parking was not a big
There were
deal.
very few cars.
There were very few cars. Now it's a big deal. Pat? You had a question?
Is it 2 comments? One is we think about the parking, also think about the fact that there is a foot of snow and all the associated street debris from the snow in the sidewalks between the 2 lots. So that's very, very challenging walk in the next month. Second question is, from a neighborhood perspective, will you be issuing a call to prayer?
That's directed to you.
Sorry?
Will you be issuing a call to prayer at 1 PM?
Are you gonna,
Are you going to issue a call to prayer at 1 PM or at the break
Not-
or at iftar?
Not to hear outside.
Okay.
It'll be inside.
It's only inside.
he's talking about the noise.
That's
issue.
exactly what
Some
don't-
mosques, they do it, yeah.
something
Not here.
I've lived near mosques that do that,
Mhm.
and from a neighborhood perspective, it's
Yes,
No.
yes.
it's an impact.
Will not
But
have
we
any
don't want
any loudspeaker or anything on there.
Thank you.
Also in North Malcolm on right side, have a plenty of parking. 1:30 to 2 o'clock.
That's
So-
just street parking.
Just
So,
the street
I-
parking.
You know, I
You
can't-
heard what went on here about.
Yes,
street
yes,
parking.
yes, yes, yes.
You understand why,
Yeah,
you understand why this whole conversation
Yes.
just became a parking discussion, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
And people don't usually come in here, they write us notes. When they come in, it's already the last straw. It's already like a group event.
Yes.
So you understand from our perspective why parking is not a minor deal, and it's not one of those, we'll figure it out. You won't figure it out because, as you heard, it's one of the biggest issues we have. There are only so many feet on a street. And no matter how strong you are not going to make that street longer. And it's a big, big deal. In that neighborhood, it's a very big deal. Super, and you know that because you've seen it. So we know the streets pretty well. Some of us were born here, so it's very, and we want to make sure this works. These questions are not barriers. We want this to start on the right foot. When it doesn't start on the right foot, our experience with all this stuff is, if it doesn't start correctly and honestly and transparently in the beginning, it never ends well. We want it to end well. So that's why we're having these questions. So on any others, you went through all your points. You have a sense of what you guys want to do. We have to actually vote on this. So do you know what you want to do? Is it a yet?
From when I was on the zoning board to when I'm on this board, I don't like setting precedents. So we're in a moratorium. We have other moratoriums. As much as I'd like to see them do what they got to do, bad timing on their part of not taking care of business when it should have been taken care of and putting us in a position now to set a precedence. So right now, I have a problem with this, a major problem. I don't want to set a precedence.
Okay.
I'm in a very similar position because we do have 3 and we're about to have a 4th moratorium go into place. I am a little concerned about the precedent situation.
Dana?
No, that was something I was thinking too. I mean, I would love for you guys to have your place to worship. And there's no alternative. No alternative to doing it this way. There's nowhere else to go. This is the spot that's what I'm asking. I mean, because you're asking us to set a precedent that could come back to haunt us in other areas, you know? So maybe because it's for religious purposes, that's our out. But that's why I'm asking, if there's any other place you could have your Ramadan festival this year, your worship this year.
We don't really have any place.
Where's the closest mosque?
Now, okay, we misunderstood because we were told that, oh, this church has religious exemption and also has tax exemption. And so we walked in, we started cleaning it up. As I said, we had to throw at least 10 truckloads of garbage from there.
Well, that's understood. Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
And then we found out that we're supposed to have a permit. We did not know that, okay, we'll need a special permit. We thought church is there.
So you were proceeding like it wouldn't be a problem, right?
We did not realize
And
this
then
would be
you-
a problem.
Who told you
Found
that?
out it would.
It wasn't the staff. So who told you that?
No, we did not even come here asking for it. Okay? Because when we had the first meeting, okay, I was told that, okay, oh, how come nobody told you? And nobody even knew in the village that the place was sold.
Yeah, I didn't know.
That's because that's your responsibility, not the village's. When you buy something, you own a house, right?
They register automatically, right?
But when you buy something, it's on your responsibility to know the rules. There are hundreds of rules to everything. So
Okay.
You didn't know. I get that.
That's my mistake.
Well, not just yours. You're actually you're incorporated and you're part of a larger organization. So it's not just it's people make mistakes, but I think the question is you you rented somewhere, so you knew enough, and then you went and bought something. You had to have lawyers, you had to have information. You don't just buy these things. So, we get a lot of people say they don't know. Unfortunately, that's a problem, but it's not the staff's fault. And it's not their job to know when people buy or sell property. It's the buyer's responsibility to know what they have to do. But your question is, can they do it somewhere else? The
Oh,
prayer
I'm
service.
just,
We already bought the place in September.
no, I know, I realize that. But this is a very special request. And the thing is, if it's a hardship, which is what we're considering, right? The hardship would be for you to
It's
have
not-
nowhere else to go,
Find a new
right?
place.
No,
No?
We're mixing
we're
things.
mixing a bunch of
The
things.
hardship is to get past the moratorium. This is not the hardship request.
So
That's the public. I also want to point just one thing out. It is not uncommon that buildings operate, I won't say illegally, but things continue with buildings. People build parts of things and they keep operating them, and we may have violations that go on, but they keep operating. It keeps happening. One thing I do want to say, just for the folks here, the building inspector has been in the location and has worked with them and has not found anything that's egregious with regard to the operation. But I do again want to stress the issue of hardship deals with the exception to the moratorium. And that's the resolution that's before the board. But that's not what's being requested here. This is, again, it's an unusual circumstance. It is not, however, precedent setting, because we have other circumstances in my almost 10 years where places have operated and we've sort of allowed a place to operate and then said, but sort of the permit sometimes has to follow. And we've done that. And it has occurred here. Here, you're even putting a stricter requirement because you're basically saying, I'm giving you 4 weeks, 2 days a week, basically 8 times, twice a day for over that 4-week period, and that's it. And if you don't get it, and again, at the end of the day, the planning board could say, we're not going to give you a conditional use permit. Or this board could vote, we're not going to we don't think you've met the hardship requirement. You could do that. All what they want to do here is for that 1 month of Ramadan to be able to have a limited number of services, not even the full 5 a day, but the limited number of services, which I think to that extent, I think if the board were to do that, it doesn't set a precedent on other cases. It doesn't set a precedent for the planning board. It doesn't tell the planning board anything because
So it doesn't set a precedent in terms of the other moratoriums that we're,
not.
all right.
Because again, this is not about the moratorium. The moratorium has a specific reason for when you can basically grant the hardship exception. This board may find after the public hearing that they have not met their burden. If you find that, it stops. It's as simple as that. Then the next time they can apply to go to the planning board is when the moratorium ends.
So
That's the difference here.
have they started the land use process?
They've submitted an application, but it has not been accepted because under the moratorium, it
Okay.
can't be accepted until the moratorium is lifted or an exception is granted.
And this operating permit would have no effect on anything being lifted.
No, nothing. Nothing. Just that it shows that it's a place of assembly that's meeting the requirements of the New York State Uniform Code. That's all, and Fire Code. That's all it would mean. Doesn't deal with parking or anything like that. Operating
That
permit is
change
the
anything for you?
facility itself.
What about you? The problem is that while we appreciate all the legal stuff, the reality of life is that anytime we give a green light, the idea that once you get moving and give up your other space and all that, really, what is the board going to do when this stuff does, and they're already everybody's already inside. I mean, we have a practical point of view, not just a. We can do lots of stuff, but then when we end up having to do lots of stuff, then somehow we can't do it. Our hands end up getting tied. It's a practical position, that I think is what's being described. I don't actually agree with the attorney on his point of view of, you could always reject something. We've sat here long enough to know that once things get moving, it's really hard to undo and redo and stop and start again. There is a whole bunch of other issues that start happening. Whether we're allowed to do something or not isn't always so easy. So I don't know. It requires a vote, and it requires, I believe, a majority vote to step out of the moratorium, which is why boards don't like to do that. And I believe it sets a precedent for a community that watches anything and starts saying, yeah, we understand that legally you don't have to do it, but you have a moratorium now over here and a moratorium over here, and you did an exception. So why can't you do an exception for us? And that's the conversation we start having. So I'm going to move to this side, let you guys think, because, my rule of thumb is I always like to have some unanimous votes so that we all feel like good. Right now, that's not where we're at. So where are you on this? I think Dana didn't say whether she's for it or against it, so I'm not quite sure where you are, Dana. Okay.
So first, thank you for coming in and for breaking this down for us. My feeling about it is, so I'm comfortable with moving forward, largely because of discretion. I think that the story that we heard earlier today with the gentleman that came in with the parking issue and the police officer that was going to give him the ticket and ultimately didn't, because the police officer had discretion. Yes, there's law, but a police officer has the ability to decide when it makes sense to apply in a particular situation. Same thing here. If it were just a matter of this is what the law says, then you wouldn't need us, right? You would just submit it to the computer program and it would tell you approved or not or whatever. But you have human beings here who take into consideration the context. To me, this seems eminently reasonable. I think that we play a little bit fast and loose when it comes to feelings of precedent, because we'll say, for example, like I see with many aspects of our work, we say, for example, we don't have back and forths during public comments, but there are some public comment periods where we do, or we say, hey, we're having a moratorium on new cannabis dispensaries, but there was this one that was in the process, so let's have them come in front of us so that we can have the letter go into the state, whatever. There's context and it makes sense. And so if someone comes in front of us and says, hey, you did it for them, why don't you do it for us? That's not a good enough reason. You need to have context. You need to have a reason why, and then we have the discretion to be able to decide. If you don't like it, every year a new couple of trustee seats become available. You can run, and then you can choose what it is that you want to do. In this particular case, we're here, and so my feeling is what you're asking for seems very reasonable, and for all the reasons that our lawyer laid out, this is not like if we say yes, then now we're off to the races, opening the floodgates. There's still a whole bunch of process left. To me, that seems like the right move forward, and that is the reason that I'm comfortable saying yes.
Thank you. And I still need a majority vote. Okay. Gentlemen? And now you see why we hate last minute requests. There's nothing you can do about it now, but normally we don't sit here having these discussions. That's not the purpose of legislative sessions, but we're going to have to do that.
Yeah. Because it was purchased a long time ago, Ramadan has been set for a long time. Discussion could have been had significantly further. So part of me wonders. Given I'm sorry, I need to come down on a no, because I am also concerned a little bit about precedent.
Okay.
Oh.
And where are you with this?
This is, Stuart, so this is a vote just for it to go to a public,
No. That's
No, that's
separate
the problem.
resolution. We're not dealing with that. This is to see if for those 4 weeks, the U.S. Help can utilize the room at 50 North Malcolm for services. That's all that's being discussed. I do also want to point something out
Yes.
to the board.
think we got that.
Today is February 4th. They're first looking to February 20. If the board wanted to discuss this further next week, where we have a work session, you're still in time because that's only the 11th. I point that out so that, because I recognize that you've had a lot of stuff and it's been a lot thrown at you. So if you would like to defer the conversation for a week and then we can come back to it at that point, maybe that would be best.
That make people feel we're having a split vote here.
I can
Well,
make
you
that,
don't care
can I,
because you already-
can I move that into a motion? I have to come from you guys.
It's not even necessary for a
No?
motion because at this point, there's really nothing technically before the board at this point.
All
So
right.
in that sense, if the board is in agreement with that, Dr. Naeem, what will be done is this discussion will continue with regard to those 4
won't
weeks.
be here.
What is still before the board, though, is the motion with regard to the public hearing.
Right.
And I believe there was a motion in a second, and Mayor, I don't know if there's any further discussion on that.
Well, that's sort of what we're discussing.
No, the motion,
No, the motion that for the resolution that's before the board is to call for the public hearing. That there's been no vote on yet.
As on the 18th.
That public hearing would be on the 18th.
that's
With or without the conditions spent an hour now discussing.
That's just the public hearing so that the board could decide if in fact an exception to the moratorium should be permitted and allow this matter then to proceed to planning. So yes, that's a,
So what
That-
exactly are you going to have a public hearing about? Just the one topic of whether the moratorium should be broken or with the hours and the dates and all?
No,
it'll have nothing to do with the hours and the dates.
So
because-
just whether the
because
moratorium.
By the time
okay.
you vote on the 18th, that the vote on the 18th is to see if there is an exception to the moratorium as allowed under the village code. But it's an exception so that then they can apply to submit an application to the planning board. That's so that that doesn't deal with dates and times. It doesn't deal with any of that.
This is two different things.
Those issues, if they come up, dates and times in terms of a conditional use permit would be dealt with at the planning board. Here, it's preliminary to that. So about that.
The operating permit's here, conditional use is over here. Right? The 18th is conditional. Right now is operating.
Okay. So I think it also gives them to actually go look at the property because, some of us haven't even a chance to look. I mean, we know where it is. Last time I looked at it, really different. Okay. Doctor, do you understand what we're saying now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to be clear that everybody hears it.
So if I'm correct, we're tabling this till next week.
no, you're tabling,
Oh.
your
Operating permit till next
operating
week.
permit.
Right.
But you still have
But
the other
we have to
resolution.
vote and
Vote
we're in
on-
the
vote
middle
on
of a
the-
vote.
Have a
Right.
public hearing.
To have
Public hearing
on the
Yeah,
18th.
that's totally separate.
Right.
Okay.
So all in favor of having a public hearing, not the thing you've been talking about for the hour. To have the public hearing on the 18th, correct? I lost my track of days.
Yeah.
The public hearing. So we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor of having the public hearing
On the 18th.
on the 18th?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
at the public hearing.
Well, but that puts you into,
But that allows you to forward on the
okay.
other stuff.
all right, one step forward here, little baby steps.
We'll continue the discussion about the.
The
next-
Rotterdam.
Yes.
Okay,
motion.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming
Thank
in.
you, all of you. Thank you.
Oh, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, is that the
Right.
next
Okay.
item?
Do
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a motion to
Do I hear
adjourn?
a
I have a
second?
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 9:50. That concludes our meeting. Have a great evening.